New York Knicks have hired Mike Brown to be the new head coach of the Knicks. This news broke about a couple hours ago, so I have some time to kind of think and process it. Look, I did not have Mike Brown really on the name card, on the list of the many coaches the Knicks hired or interviewed. My guy was obviously Mike Malone. I thought he fit all the credentials that I was looking for to replace Tom Thibodeau. But look, Mike Brown is a fantastic coach. He's a very veteran coach. That's one of my main boxes. He's a guy who's won a lot of games. He's a guy who's dealt with superstars before. Another one of my boxes. And he's a guy who's had playoff success. But there are a couple of things I don't like about it, a couple of things I do really like about it. So we'll go through them. So Mike Brown, former coach of the Sacramento Kings, before he got fired after they had a bad start this year, was a former coach of the Los Angeles Lakers after Phil Jackson retired, and then was the former coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, who took that team to the final. I think the Laker team to the final too. But he's coached in finals, also part of the Golden State Warriors staff with Steve Kerr in the early years of that. So a very veteran coach in the league. He's dealt with star players before. He knows what he's doing. And his, usual kind of games and his offensive schemes are usually predicated on fast pace, high scoring, and moving the ball a lot. So already there's a lot of positives in his resume and his credentials. Knicks were looking for a veteran head coach. I truly believe that. I felt like a young head coach wasn't the right guy, so to say. I think bringing in a veteran coach with a veteran team like this Knicks team is, that knows what its job is, was the right thing to do. But you wanted to bring in a veteran head coach who's also an offensive kind of mind and bringing new ideas. I think Mike Brown does that really well. He completely changes this Knicks offense. It should be more faster, more ball movement, a lot of off the ball stuff, and you should be able to see a lot more high scoring of an offense, which is what this league has kind of turned into. So I think you're getting out of the old defensive, old school mentality that Tibbs had. And while Mike Brown has good defensive teams, the Knicks are a good defensive team, their scoring is what killed them. I think Mike Brown could absolutely help in that regard in setting up a new offense centered around Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns to score on teams. So I do kind of really like that aspect to his game. I like that he's dealt with star players. He's dealt with a young LeBron James. He's dealt with Kobe Bryant. Um, he's been with Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson, and he's been a part of that staff and that crew. So, and De'Aaron Fox as well in Sacramento and Domantas Sabonis. So he knows how to deal with these guys and get the best out of them because he's won with them before. Um, so I think having that transition to Jalen Brunson, Karl-Anthony Towns, who are not like ego-driven superstars, but are superstars, is a good thing. So I think that's a really, really important aspect to it as well. It's very underrated, so very good to see that on his resume card as well. And then the playoff success is where I kind of have a bit of an issue because while he's been to two finals, he's lost both. He hasn't been to a final in over 10 years. He had a decent run with the Kings. He took him to their first playoff appearance. Did not repeat there. So look, I wanted a coach who had won an NBA championship. I think that was a big marker on my resume, or a guy who went to a final. I guess Mike Brown does kind of do that, but I would have liked to have seen somebody who's been there, done that, and lead that team that can get them over the hump and know what to do to get over that hump, so to say. So I'd say Mike Brown can't do it, but I haven't seen him do it in a long time, and it has been a long time. Um, so look, I think Mike Brown is a great hire. I think he has a lot of credentials. I think he's a good fit for this Knicks team and where it's at and where they're going. Um, and look, I like him as a coach. He's intense, which I like. His practices are usually very hard driven, but he's also a really great guy. And he's also dealt with a lot of high pressure media. He dealt with LeBron's 07 year and the pressure that came with that in Cleveland before he got fired. He dealt with the Lakers in Los Angeles and Kobe Bryant for a couple of years. And then in Sacramento, where the media isn't that high, but a lot of expectations were put on that team, and he was able to get them into those high expectations. But New York's a different animal, but I think he'll be fine and he'll be able to handle the media well here. That's another good credential that he has. Is handling the media. So I think in that regard, also another great point. He obviously wasn't the Knicks' first choice. Uh, we've gone almost a month without a coach. So this is a coach that they settled on. There was a second interview, and after the second interview, he got hired. Clearly, he wanted Jason Kidd, but that never materialized, and they settled on Mike Brown. So I think that is a very, very good coach to settle on, so to say. But yeah, I like the hire. I like the move. I think it's a coach for a win now team, and this team's trying to win now. I like the Knicks' two moves in the offseason with signing Yubasele and Jordan Clarkson. I think that helps our depth and our bench. Um, I think Mike Brown now has a lot of tools to play with. I think when you look at this team, it could be very similar to those Kings teams, where you have Brunson playing the De'Aaron Fox of the offense, and Cat kind of playing the Sabonis as like the offensive center, who could be moved around the court, uh, so to say. But I think guys like Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are going to have a lot of more chances. Deuce McBride is another guy I kind of key in on, who could have a lot of good chances in this offense to score and move the ball and get into more space and get more chances on the ball. So we'll see. I like the move. I like the hire. I It's not my first choice, but it's definitely not a bad choice to have. We'll see how he builds out his staff. I hear James Borrego is another coach they're looking to add to his staff from the Pelicans. That'll be a great hire as well. We'll see who else could come into the coaching room. Rick Brunson obviously is going to stay. And I think this kind of not finishes the Knicks off season, but I think it definitely kind of puts a good lid on what the core of the team's going to look like. I don't firmly believe they're going to make another big move. If they do, I'd be very surprised. I think they're happy with the team that they have. I think they're happy with the bench. I think a couple of minor moves here and there will happen. You won't get any crazy, big trades, kind of like the 11th, 12th guy, and giving chances to maybe some rookies or second-year players to step up. But I think this is kind of a good solidifying piece to add to this team right now, and a good solidifying piece for the Knicks to have right now, and have a coach, have a legit coach in here, ready to go right before summer league, and get going, get this off the ground, get ready for the next season, and you brought in a guy who you know what you're getting, and you know what you're expecting, and you know he can reach those expectations. But yeah, so I think to kind of put a bow on this, I like Mike Brown as a coach. I think it's a good hire. I think he's going to I hope he does a decent job. Um, yeah, I have no real commanding issue with it as of right now. So we'll see what happens when the season begins. Obviously, stuff can change, but I think he'll do a good job. I think he's a good coach. He's won Coach of the Year before. He's a great coach. I think he'll get the best out of this team, and when the playoff comes, that's going to be when the real expectation comes out, and that's where he really has to perform. So we'll see what happens when the Knicks make the playoffs, because they will, because I need them to. So anyway, that's going to do it for me. Thank you guys for listening and watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, check out our social media, check out our other videos, all that good stuff, and we will see you guys next time.